Hi, and welcome to Create Happiness with Your Mind. I'm Dr. Donna Antarr, and I'm part of Janessa's Scientific Advisory Board. And I'd like to just work with you today and talk to you about your mind, about your brain. What is the difference between those two things? And about happiness and creating happiness, because guess what? We can, and it's pretty amazing when you learn about it. All right, so what is the difference between mind and brain? Well, your mind is your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs, and also your behaviors are part of your mind. Now, your brain is physical substance that creates all of that. It's kind of the source of your mind, if you can think of it that way. So I know that we use the terms interchangeably, but if you think of your brain as a physical part that creates the things that we call thoughts and dreams and all those different things and beliefs, confidence, all those things are part of our mind. So just think about that, because part of what's weird or just different about the brain is sometimes it gets left out. It gets left out when we talk about the body. Well, the brain is part of the body, but because it's so much more, because we have a mind that sometimes, kind of we think of the body as kind of cut off right here, but it's not. So just think about that. Now, so then where would happiness be? Is happiness in your mind or is happiness in the brain? How do those things go together? Well, our brain is flooded, I think it's every second, with 10 megabytes of information from the environment. Now, our brain, from all that input, creates our perceptions. It interprets, basically, that input. And that's what our mind does. So therefore, whatever happens in our brain, in our body, because if you talk to somebody, actually they did a study, and they asked people different emotions. And they said, where do you feel those emotions in your body? And they pointed to all different places. Where do you feel love? People pointed to their heart. And by the way, this is cross-cultural. They did it in two totally different cultures, and they came out exactly the same. So people felt love in their heart. Where did they feel excitement or anticipation? Well, most people felt it in their stomach. So as you can see, it very much is interrelated in the whole rest of your body. So where's happiness? It's in our whole body, and our mind is what's interpreting it. So if you were to define happiness, what would you say? Well, some things are, it's a decrease in not just stress, but chronic stress. That's the bad stress. Some stresses are good, like when people surprise you and for a birthday party or something like that, or an anniversary. Guess what? That's good stress. Okay, but it's that chronic stress that is detrimental to the body. Also, not being lonely, feeling that you're a part of a community, that can be a definition of happiness, as part of happiness. Positive thoughts. Also, your immune function. When you are happy, when you feel that life is worth living, you feel that life is good, you get an improved immune function. It's pretty amazing, right? And also having that, just like we said before with the loneliness, having that positive social communication, that creates happiness. Well, I'll tell you in the next slide. When you don't have that particular social connection, so if you have either poor social connection or a lack of social connection, they did a study and they showed that those smaller social connections had a 50%, that's a lot, 50% increased risk of early death. That's pretty significant. And they found that it's as harmful, not having good social connection or bad social connections, it's as harmful as smoking 15 cigarettes a day, obesity, or increased inflammation, which is known to be related to heart problems, diseases, joint problems, those kinds of things. So what do positive social relationships help? Well, again, that connection. They decrease blood pressure, they reduce stress instead of increasing stress, and they're an important predictor of your longevity and your happiness, your satisfaction with life. And guess what? Another, improved immunity and even improved memory. Think about that. Now, a lot of health problems can be caused by chronic stress and worrying about different things. Emotional issues or lack of happiness can also be caused by chronic stress. Do you see the cycle here that we can get into? Journal of Circulation said that mental stress can actually cause chest pain or angina, actually cause a physical problem in the heart for people that have heart conditions. So that's how much it's related. Now, in 2015, they did a survey and they found that some people's top concerns were especially memory loss. And you can see here, 40% memory loss, 38% memory loss in professionals. You have memory loss as a very, concern. But I just showed you that if you have positive social connections, one of the things that they found is people have improved memory. So again, everything is so interconnected when you're talking about the brain and the mind. So what do you do? How do you get around all this? Well, one of the things, and I thought this was so cool, is that they found that happiness can be shared from person to person. So if you surround yourself with other happy people, guess what? Their happiness kind of rubs off on you, and vice versa. Your happiness will rub off on other people. It's kind of like you can pass it on to each other, and that's a really neat thing to know. Now, also, of course, exercise is important, but you know what? Just walking 30 minutes a day will help improve your mental outlook and decrease your stress level and those kinds of things. And you can even do 15 minutes twice a day. Now, other thing you can do is be mindful. What does that mean? That means to really focus on things. There's this myth that, I'm so efficient, I can multitask. Well, multitasking is a myth. They found that multitasking is really not multitasking. What it is switching quickly between different functions, different tasks. And it doesn't actually make you more efficient. If anything, it stresses out your brain. It causes brain fatigue, and you don't get more positive input. Your brain doesn't work better. It actually doesn't work as good. So be mindful, meaning be focused, and or do mindful meditation. And recognize that happiness really is all around us. No matter what everything else is, you can take a break from the news for a while because they never tell you about happiness, and look around at what happiness is around you. Start a gratitude journal or continue one or pick it up again and stay connected. It's so important. Now, with Mind, our Jeunesse product, M1ND, we have 4 different ingredients in it. We have silk protein hydrolysate, L-theanine, GABA, and N-acetyl L-tyrosine. And the L-theanine is an amino acid that it's been clinically studied. It reduces mental distraction, and that's really important. So when you want to focus, the L-theanine can help with that. One thing that is really important is that with L-theanine, you can notice that after you've taken a sachet of Mind for or in about 30 to 60 minutes. And that's important to know because you want to know what to expect from different parts of products. You want to know how long does it take to get the benefit that you're looking for. Okay? So The other really important ingredient is the silk protein hydrolysate. It's exclusive to Jeunesse. It supports memory. That means names, facts, words. Been clinically studied, human clinical trials is what you have. And it's sourced from the silkworm of cocoons. Now, I want to tell you, no silkworms were harmed in having their cocoons. They leave them anyway, so they do that. And this has been used for hundreds of years. The silkworm cocoons, like I said, centuries, health benefits that they've noticed. Discovered memory-supporting proteins in the silkworm hydrolysate, meaning the protein in the cocoon is what they're extracting, okay? And they found actually they isolated and researched over 2,000 of those proteins. And in 2016, Jeunesse Global partnership with them. Now, those clinical studies that I told you about, those human clinical trials, placebo-controlled, double-blind, with a statistically significant sample. Say that 5 times twice, fast. And that makes those studies reliable and trusted. And it's a good, very high-level test protocol. So what do some of those studies show? I'm just going to give you a couple of them. So some of those studies, one of the ones that they did was the verbal test of word recall. It's described as memory recall efficiency. So what they do is they have a group of people, they give them 15 unrelated words, and I mean unrelated. Things like light, chair, window, clothes. I mean unrelated words. And the participants then recall as many of them as they can. Now, 20 minutes later, so if you do it right away, hopefully you get most of them right, but when you do it right away, that's what happens. But they also then do it 20 minutes later, and they're asked to recall as many as possible. After this, they're presented with 50 words. This is not an easy test. And asked to identify the 15 unrelated words that they originally heard. So they're really trying to mix it up and see how much people can remember. And then they repeat this test after 3 weeks. Here's what they found. It was statistically significant, meaning the statistics show that these results couldn't have happened by random. And they had changes from baseline of 90%. So taking the product and not taking the product is what you got from this ingredient. This next test is really described as an overall memorization ability. And what they do, when they did this test, it helps you differentiate between someone's IQ and their ability to recall, okay? So here's what happened. Neither group, the placebo group did not change. Both 200 milligram and 400 milligram. So let me tell you what that means as far as mind. One packet has 200 milligrams, and therefore if you take 2 packets a day, so you should take 1 to 2 a day, that's 400 milligrams of the silk protein hydrolysate, okay? Those groups scored for the 200, 12%, and for the 400 milligrams, 21% higher than the baseline. Now, that means that the measure of memory with IQ as a percentage, you don't need to know all that, but it creates a statistically significant improved efficiency, meaning that you have better memory for the same level of IQ. So it doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with being smart, but it has to do with memory. And that is what they were trying to show. So therefore, they got really good results. Now, if you look at all this, happiness is created by the mind. The mind is a process of a physical part of your body called the brain. And the brain gets input from the environment, and it gets input from the inside of your body. So what you consume, your diet, your supplements, what you do as far as exercise and doing those kinds of things in your body, and what you have in your neurotransmitters in your brain, then that gets translated by your mind into either positive things or negative things. And what's so awesome is it really can be your choice. And you want to try as much as you can to work with that and let happiness be created by your mind. Thank you.